crowd, watching the building burn like any other spectator. A shuffle caught his attention. A sniff. Richard spun around. One of the devices in his hands nearly slid off the other. Almost a disaster, but he caught it and righted the stack in his hands. He laid them down and went to the source of the disturbance he had heard. Along the row of dryers, then washers. The shelves above were stacked with detergents and empty boxes of dryer sheets. Bundles of lint between them. Handfuls tossed up there by the people who actually bothered to clean out lint traps but couldn't seem to find the trash can. That was where he'd had the idea of backing up the vents, blocking all the airflow to trap the fire inside this room. Wedged between the first washer and the wall, a scraggly, dark-haired child wearing threadbare shorts and an oversized t-shirt sat clutching his knees. Richard crouched. "Are you lost, little boy?" He shook his head, eyes wide. "What's your name?" The kid swallowed. "Custard." Richard frowned. What a ridiculous name for a child. This building and the people in it all deserved to burn. "Fear not, Custard. It will all be over soon." But he couldn't have the child be a witness who remembered his face, if he managed to get out. "You should go back to your apartment, back to bed." Richard stood. "Now." He said that last word louder than the rest. At his bark, the child scrambled out and down the hall. A scrabble of feet on the linoleum floor, carrying a teddy bear in one hand. All skinny arms and legs. At least, it wouldn't take long for someone his size to fall asleep, minutes before his body was consumed by fire. Richard yelled after him, "Go!" He chuckled to himself and set the final ignition devices precisely where he'd planned. Then he used the same door he'd entered, digging the stack of sliced wood from the bush. He wedged one under the door, then two more around the edges, one in the space above the handle and one in the center at the top of the door. He did the same with the front entrance, ensuring no one inside managed to get out. And then he sat in his car and waited for the flames. 30 minutes later, the orange glow of fire lit the night sky. He cracked the window and smelled it on the air, drawing in deep inhales of the rich tang of burning wood. The smell of cleansing. Fire truck sirens split the air, coming from the other direction. He never saw them, but knew precisely when they pulled up outside the building to find residents banging on the doors. Trapped and trying to get out. A smile split his lips. As soon as a crowd gathered, he would join it. Richard gripped the wheel, eager to go. But he had to be patient. Red and blue lights flashed in his rear view. He twisted in the seat and found his car suddenly surrounded by a sea of police cars. Richard gritted his teeth. No, they couldn't have found him. The plan had been flawless. He shoved open the door and stumbled out. "Richard Silvana, hands up!" Cops pointed their weapons at him, positioned behind their cars, like an invading army in a standoff. "You're under arrest." Richard clenched down on his back teeth. This wasn't over. It would never be over. Chapter 2. Present day. Detective Samantha Jesse wasn't on duty for another 2 hours, which made it the perfect time to be sitting across from her sister in the diner. Not just because Bristol enjoyed the waffles this place served as a special on Fridays, but also because the oven in their apartment was broken again and the company in charge of repairs for the complex hadn't shown up the last 3 days. Bristol had nearly white blonde hair, currently braided in what she called her Viking braids. Slim figure, perfect makeup. She kicked Samantha under the table. Samantha blinked out of her funk about the oven.